Hey, this is Sarah Del Toro and Lori Sarver, and we wanted to make a quick video to explain to you something we're really excited about. Hopefully, by the end of the video, you'll be excited too. So Lori's gonna go ahead and get us started.
All right, so back in the 2018-2019 school year, the secondary EL team decided that we needed to get more information about our language learners. The ELPA gives us 4 data points, but as you know, the test is only given once a year, and that's not enough information to really track how our students are doing in their oracy and their literacy. So we decided that we wanted to create a collection of formative assessments in the 4 areas of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so we spent the 2018-19 school year creating these assessments. Then last year, we piloted this use of the actual physical EL portfolios. We had binders, we had all the different types of assessments, and then school ended with COVID. And so it made the use of those physical binders impossible. So a silver lining with all of this is that in the spring of 2020, we converted all of our physical formative assessments into a digital format. And that is, we did that so we could use these assessments because they're very valuable regardless of what type of teaching is occurring, whether it's remote or face-to-face. The purpose of these formative assessments, there are many reasons, and you can read those yourself, but our key focus was that we wanted to highlight the abilities of our students. Instead of having a deficit viewpoint where we say, oh, they can't do this yet because their English is not good enough, we look at their abilities, and we want to make sure that we see their progress and involve students in this. And it's also a way for us to use the data to reflect on our own instruction and make sure that we as teachers are providing the best instruction for our students and their needs.
Yeah, so this actually also has an implementation plan along with it. So your EL teachers worked together with Lori to put together a plan for when each formative assessment was going to be provided to the students. And you can see it's very complex. It has a lot of dates on there and all the different types broken down, all the different assessments. And so it's pretty exciting. It's not just an idea, but it has a plan in place as well. The next part of this is that it also includes an opportunity for us as a whole team of EL teachers to take a look at data together. And so teachers are able to put in their names and when they do each assessment. So then they could pull together as a team and say, how are our students doing at this data point? And they can collaborate a little bit easier this way. And so they've put together not just the implementation plan, but this ability to kind of track where each person is within their assessment process. So really cool.
One thing I think is important to say, because you can look at this list and get really overwhelmed, but these assessments were designed not to be an additional assessment just for the sake of assessing, but they are to be woven in to what the teachers are actually teaching. So they're not added on. It's supposed to be it's a part of instruction, which is why we made this implementation plan so teachers could know, oh, I need to do this at this point in time.
Thank you for adding that, Lori. And I think it's great to know too, Lori will be a great resource for your teachers as they're working on this so that they can get ideas for how they can just build that formative assessment right in.
Great. Okay, so we're gonna provide you with just a little short snippet of the types of assessments that are included in this portfolio. So we start off, and of course, we're going to take a look at their ELPA scores, but there are a chunk of assessments that deal with students looking at where they're at and setting goals. So, yes, we'll start the year off with them looking at their ELPA scores, understanding what it means, and making goals for themselves. They'll look at their achievement level descriptors and understand, well, what does it mean if I'm a 2 in reading or a 3 in speaking? And we'll track those goals throughout the year. Additionally, They will be doing self-assessments on things like their own writing. How do they think they're doing as a writer? They'll collect data on their reading comprehension and again, reflect on how they did and what they're going to do to improve. We do this also for the area of reading fluency, where they look at their scores on our reading fluency assessment and set goals and make an action plan. We also have this speaking and listening checklist where again, students are rating themselves. They're looking at their ability. How do they think they're doing? And reflecting on it and just talking with their teachers and discussing, well, if I feel like I'm not doing really well here, what can I do to improve? How can I better myself in that area?
So along with self-reflection and goal setting, students and teachers are also able to see on graphs within each student portfolio how they are doing on their reading comprehension. And as you can see, it tracks as well as their fluency. So you can see some examples here of what that might look like within the portfolio. Students can use this data then in their reflection. As they're being asked to reflect, they can take a look at this. Teachers can also use it to see how their students are growing and where they're struggling.
One of the things that we also created were a series of rubrics that we could use. We created a universal speaking rubric where when students are giving larger presentations, that we can score them on things like vocabulary, fluency and pacing, pronunciation, all those different things that come into play when you're doing a presentation. This is a rubric that students can also use to evaluate themselves, to evaluate their peers, and focus on growth and set goals. Another type of rubric that we've put together, well, it's a combination of rubrics and checklists, is for their larger pieces of writing. We're looking at narrative, informative, and argumentative writing, and we've made checklists for the different types of paragraphs that you see in these larger pieces. So teachers can use data from these checklists and rubrics to figure out where students are struggling. Students can also use them to help guide them through the writing process. But we know that you can't wait, or you can't only assess students' writing abilities at the end of these larger pieces of writing, because you'd only be able to evaluate writing a few times a year. So we created smaller checklists for things like what we call picture word prompts, where there's a smaller chunk of student writing, and we have more highly differentiated assessments for this. So this narrative checklist, informative checklist, and argumentative checklist, we've actually made a version for your emerging students and for students who are at that early progressing, because we want our students to see growth. And this is just the sample of the shorter piece of writing that teachers can implement more frequently, and it's helping us see where are our students in terms of writing explanatory pieces, argumentative pieces, and narrative pieces. And they're using those shorter checklists to give us a good snapshot of where they're at throughout the year.
All right. And so we did want to just let you know, every school has a Google Classroom that your EL teacher has built that has all of these portfolio items within it. And the students that they work with, typically it's students in like an ELL English or an ELD course, will be added to this portfolio classroom as well. So that is how it will be accessed. You might be thinking, this is pretty cool, Sarah and Lori. How can we do this for our other teachers? We've got ELs, not just with our EL specialists, we've got them in every classroom. That's actually a great question. And we would say, yes, there are ways that these checklists for writing and rubrics and self-assessments could be used. What we would suggest is contact us if you're interested in having some of your content mainstream teachers access some of these tools. We would be more than happy to share and work with the EL teacher in your building to create another a Google Drive or Google Classroom where your teachers can access some of these tools that have been put together. We're also going to be working with for high schools, with your bilingual facilitators to take a look at tracking some of your long-term EL students, your LTEL students, with using some of these very same tools. And so look forward to that. But if you're interested in some teachers accessing it, we say, yep, let's do this.
Okay, one of our hopes by pulling all of these formative assessments together was to increase student engagement. We know that our students need to be very involved in their own learning. They need to understand that it's not just about, do they understand the content, but how are they doing in their language acquisition? Where are they struggling? Are they improving? If not, what can they do? So we're considering the whole metacognition cycle when we designed these formative assessments. We want our students to feel more engaged and invested in their learning and feel proud of what they are accomplishing. A lot of times it's easy to just look at what they're not there yet. Well, they don't sound like a native English speaking student yet. No, but at the beginning of the year and by the middle of the year, look at all this amazing progress these kids have made. And too often do we as teachers notice the progress, but we might not necessarily share that with the students and make them realize, wow, they've done some pretty incredible things during a certain portion of the school year. So our hope is that this will help increase student engagement. Overall, we want to make sure that our students have the language they need to, when they graduate from high school, that they can open any door that they want, whatever choice they want for their post-secondary experience, that they can do it, that they aren't limited by language. They have all the tools they need to be able to access whatever their path is after graduation. And so hopefully by using the formative assessments, we don't miss anything. We're keeping such close track on our language learners that we see where their struggles are, and we can modify our instruction to help pull them up so that they are able to graduate and pursue whatever options they want after high school.
Thank you so much for watching this video. And of course, if you have any questions or would like to know more about specific pieces, we're here to help. Know that your EL teachers are a really great resource on this as well, and I'm sure would be willing to talk more about it or how they're incorporating it into their classroom and instruction. It's a really exciting time, and it's one of those, as Lori said, silver linings to this whole COVID school closure that we've been able to pull this together, Lori and all the EL teachers. So we're looking forward to a great year, and we will talk to you soon.